What's up, Brian Tong here, and welcome to the Apple Bits for everything good and bad inside the world of Apple. And you know, we've got new features in iOS 15.2 revealed, the future of Apple Silicon, Apple changes its stance for iPhone 13 display repairs, and the Apple versus Epic battle is resulting in big changes for the App Store. So, yeah, it's gonna be a beefy show. So let's start off with iOS 15.2 because that's gonna affect all of us the most. The second beta for 15.2 was released for developers, and we're getting a bunch of new features coming soon. The first is Legacy Contacts, and that allows you to set a trusted person to be able to access your Apple ID and your data after you die. Ugh, I know it sounds morbid, but look, times have changed, and the person that you designate as your contact can access your photos, messages, notes, files, contacts, calendar events, apps, device backups, and more. iCloud keychain passwords will remain inaccessible, but you better be careful what kind of pictures you have on your phone because I have so many dig pics. Like this one's an excavation of a Spinosaurus, and then this is the tail of a sauropod discovered in Niger. Pretty cool, right? Now, setting a legacy contact can be found in the password and security settings of iOS 15.2. There's also a new option in the Find My app for items that can track me. So if you tap on it, it's going to allow you to search for nearby items that might be used to track your location. It could just be an item that belongs to someone else, but if it's not and someone could be trying to track you, it will tell you how to disable them. Plus, there's an option to help return lost items as well. Now, the iPadOS TV app, that gets a new design with a constant sidebar to make navigating it a whole lot better between the different categories of the TV app. Now, before, some sections were on a bottom bar, then others were on a sidebar, and this new interface makes so much more sense now, and now there's a dedicated store tab to access movies and TV shows that can be purchased directly in the app. In case you're wondering, it was never there before, but this app becomes a whole lot more usable now. Plus, code revealed in iOS 15.2 also suggests there may be a new option to turn dark mode on permanently for the CarPlay Maps app. And you can also use the Hide My Email feature directly in the new Mail app in the new beta by tapping on the From field and select Hide My Email to create a random address. Now, the second beta of iOS 15.2 also includes communication safety and messages for children. This is not the same as the CSAM functionality that we've talked about in the past that Apple still has in development, but this will scan incoming messages on children's devices for nudity, and it's opt-in and must be enabled by parents. So those are some of the key new features expected to come in iOS 15.2 once it's made public. But then there's a different software update from Apple that is expected to make the right to repair audience and really all of us a lot happier about our iPhones. Now, it was earlier revealed by iFixit and others that if you ever needed to replace your iPhone 13 display for whatever reason, if it wasn't done through Apple directly or an authorized Apple service provider, it would cause Face ID to be non-functional, making it a whole lot harder for smaller repair shops to handle iPhone 13 display repairs. Now, Apple has now taken a step back and changed its policies, and standard display repairs will now no longer disable Face ID. And to me, this is a victory for the right to repair crowd, and honestly, for any consumer who doesn't even pay attention to these type of details, because Apple added a small microcontroller that pairs the iPhone 13 to its display, and then previously it had to be repaired back with a new display to work again using specific Apple tools. But then independent repair shops did not have access to these new tools to update the new pairing. So Apple's new software update will now remove that restriction. We don't know when the software update will arrive, but Apple has listened and says it is coming in the near future. All right, let's take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, Avast. Avast is a global leader in cybersecurity for more than 30 years and trusted by over 435 million users. Avast's new all-in-one solution, Avast One, helps you take control of your safety and privacy online through a range of features. Now, you can learn more about Avast One at avast.com. It includes its award-winning antivirus that stops viruses and malware from harming your devices. Firewall protection keeps personal information secure and prevents attacks that seek to access our computers and steal our data. PC Speedup optimizes the background activity of your apps in order to speed up your PC. And Smart Scan finds and removes viruses and resolves the most common privacy and performance issues through an optimization scan. Getting set up for me was easy, and all I did was download the app and then one click for the scan, and Avast One took care of the rest for me. Avast prevents over 1.5 billion attacks every month, and with Avast One, you can confidently take control of your online world without worrying about viruses, phishing attacks, ransomware, hacking attempts, and other cyber crimes. So learn more about Avast One at avast.com. All right, back to the show, and we know Apple walked back on its iPhone 13 display restriction, but more changes are a-coming for Apple because the Apple versus Epic beef, it still hasn't been completely resolved yet, but it could come to a conclusion soon because a judge recently denied Apple's request to delay the permanent injunction that requires Apple to make the most significant change to the App Store in its history. Apple will now have to allow developers to add in app links to outside websites that open up the door for alternate payment options. Now that will no longer require developers to use Apple's in-app purchase system, and this is going to be a fundamental change for Apple, and the changes will need to be made by December 9th. Now Apple's App Store alone grossed more than $64 billion last year. The App Store is one of Apple's biggest sources of income as every app transaction runs through it and they receive a cut every time. But that doesn't look like it will be the case in the future, and no matter how long this drags out, this is going to be a win for app developers. Now, if we're talking about alternate payment options, is Apple ready to get into cryptocurrency? Well, in a recent interview with New York Times, Tim Cook revealed that he has personally invested in crypto and that he's been interested in it for a while. So the natural question is Apple, the company, ready for it? Well, Tim Cook said Apple has no immediate plans to accept cryptocurrency for payment for its products or the App Store or Apple Pay, but he did say that it's something Apple is looking into, so stay tuned. Now, you've already known about the chip shortages affecting everyone this holiday season. Tim Cook recently warned that the shortages have had a bigger impact than Apple expected, with the iPhone 13 being constrained along with the iPad and iMac. A recent supply chain report says the iPhone 13 supply isn't expected to catch up with demand until February of next year. And if you look, some specific configurations of the new MacBook Pros with 64 gigs of unified memory won't be available until January of 2022. Also, if we're talking Macs, this week was the 1-year anniversary debut of the very first Apple Silicon chip inside of a Mac, the M1 chip that has absolutely rocked the PC industry. You know, it's brought back a buzz and prominence that we just haven't seen around the Mac in at least 5 years or so. And it's just crazy to think that in 2022, really the products that I'm most excited to see are Mac-based products. And sure, you know, there's always a new iPhone and maybe finally a first look at Apple's AR/VR headset, but the M1 chip and now the M1 Pro and the M1 Max have just made the Mac exciting once again and really put the spotlight on Apple for its computing power and its power efficiency. Now, the current M1 chip family is fabricated on a 5nm process, and the next generation will still be made on an upgraded 5nm process. But if we start looking forward, according to the report, Apple and chip manufacturer partner TSMC, they plan on producing 3nm chips for the Mac as soon as 2023. So that's smaller, it takes up less space, it's more power efficient, and that new chip could bring up to 40 CPU cores in total per chip, and then a potential 128 GPU cores. So just to let you know, right now we're at a max of 10 CPU cores and 32 GPU cores. So that is going to be insane. And obviously more power is always a good thing, especially running this cool and this efficiently. But it's already clear, look, not everyone needs an M1 Max based machine or anything higher than that today, but you got to imagine, right, the groundbreaking tech that will eventually trickle down and become cheaper over time. That's just going to benefit the general consumer in the long run. All right, now we're expecting the new MacBook Air in 2022 to feature Apple's second generation chip, which will most likely be called the M2, but it will likely be less powerful than the current high-end chips because of its thinness and then the thermal constraints of the new Air. So you can check out my recent video where I just broke down everything we expect for the new Air next year. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this video. If you like what you see, give me that thumbs up, subs up, and hit that notification bell, ding, to get all my latest videos when they drop. And if you want more of that Apple goodness, you can check out my weekly Apple Bits XL audio podcast to get the latest deep dive with all these stories and new ones every week with special guests. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and be safe, and we will see you on the next video. Peace and love.